All right, so today's
Yeah.
marketing is all about creating experience. But it's a digital experience. This is what I think is the hardest part about all this. You went from being like, let's all be in the tent together watching, people trick ride horses to, let's all be in a digital experience like social media. We've all seen the buzzing, colorful ads that catch our attention, but now it's not just flashy posters or TV spots. It's about building a community and creating interactive experiences. Influencers are the new circus performers, except now they don't have to fit in the ring. They can influence millions of people through Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Just like Barnum created spectacle to draw crowds, influencers create spectacle to sell lifestyle, status, and products. Their followers are emotionally invested, just like the circus goers were in Barnum's time. And then there's the experience marketing, where brands aren't just selling a product, they're creating a whole experience around it. Think about Apple's product launches or how companies are using augmented reality to try to sell before you buy. I mean, that's how they sell nuclear power plants. You walk through it with VR. That's how they do it. Like, let's walk through your nuclear power plant before you spend $1 billion. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. It's not just about a transaction anymore. It's about giving people something they'll remember.
So I totally agree. And there was this woman I met, Eileen Sarah. She ran the kind of affluent card portfolio for Chase, and so Sapphire was like their premier product line. And that was she was, and I talked to her about what are we doing with this product? What are we doing this? And she explained, Sapphire was not about credit limits or whatever. It was about enabling premium experiences for their cardholders and, special dinners and, events that you could get better tickets for. It was like, taking a page out of the Amex,
Mhm.
right? Whatever the Centurion, concierge was, and enabling that at a bigger scale. It was a very interesting, discussion, but that experience driven product they were trying to build a following, right? And that following is what drove the valuation on the portfolio to some degree. But you see that across Apple, right? Or name your favorite brand, right? It's like I'm a member of the cult of Mac. I'm not afraid to I'm not afraid to
So
say
that's
it.
just it, right? Like, some brands are super culty. And I feel like,
Yeah.
they love bomb you. They create community around the brand. They have their own language for the stuff LuLaRoe is a really good example of that. They all spoke their own language. They all looked the same. They all sold this stuff. They were all like, it was a community where they really felt like they were helping each other. They were stuck in an MLM. I swear, it was just a bad scene the whole way around. But like,
Yeah.
there's a book called Cultish. It's written by Amanda Montel. I'm sorry, Montel? Is that what her last
Yeah.
name is?
I think that's it.
Yeah, Amanda Montel. And she wrote a book where she talks about how brands use cult language to get you to be loyal, right? And get you to
Yeah.
buy. And it's very methodical on how this all works. You speak the same language. She talks about one in the LuLaRoe documentary, one of them, I think it's the Hulu one. She talks about how language that when you go to church and you speak all together in prayer, it releases endorphins. So like that
Yeah.
language and that communal language, when you're doing that in a group, like it creates this dopamine effect where you feel like you're bonding with everybody. And she says, it's why when people go to like MLM events, they feel like they've had this religious experience. Of course they do. Like it's like being at a revival tent. Like, of course you have a
Yeah.
religious experience. It's designed that way. And so, yeah, but I think with that comes, I mean, just want to talk about brand risk. With that comes a ton of risk, right? Once you say to me, I want to tie you to me emotionally as a brand, right? The first time you say that, and then you actually don't deliver on the brand promise, you
Yeah.
didn't just disappoint me, you broke my heart. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Is that really what you want? Because in that moment, I'm going to break up with you. This is divorce. I'm divorcing you. Like, you broke my heart. I'm divorcing you. Like, it is a way bigger deal than, yeah, that's kind of disappointing, but I'm still going to shop there, right? Like, it's a completely different thing. You look at like Cargill. No, Cargill doesn't say, I love you. Cargill deliberately doesn't say they love you. They don't really need to tell you that story. They don't need the backlash of it when they do something terrible, which they're bound to do, right? I think that's the whole thing, right? Like, that's the whole thing in a nutshell. Like, Southwest Airline, why do you need to say
Oh,
it's all about love? Forget that. It's all about on time and don't crash. That's all it's about, right? Like, stop saying that, because once you do that and you leave me stranded on Christmas Eve for the next 3 days, you broke my heart. Like, this is crazy talk. Like, this idea that you're just going to keep pulling on everyone's, heartstrings and nostalgia strings and their needs and their FOMO and their cultiness. Like, once you start doing that, I just think you create so much brand risk that if you're not actively monitoring it and managing it, you are setting yourself up to be blown up in the middle of the sea. I think
but
that's how it's going to end up.
I mean, I think
Do
I
you
was
want a
just talking
hug?
with.
Here's a
I know
hug
I was.
and a can of chili. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but you and I know this better than most, right? Is that even if you identify the risk, right, and you say that you're managing the risk, like a lot of times people will say, we've identified this risk. And the just the sheer notion of identifying the risk is like, well, that makes it okay. And then the business, whoever the amorphous quote unquote business is, will say, you know what, we're willing to accept
Accept
that
that
risk.
risk.
and and it's like, wait a minute, what did you just do? You said you accepted that risk. Right. So Southwest Airlines with the big heart logo and saying it's all about love and all that, somewhere the CEO says, you know what? I get it, Renee. We've talked before, and I understand you think that there's brand risk, and you're absolutely right. There's brand risk. But we put that in our risk register and we think about it, and we're going to accept that risk. you know, that's what happens. That's what
And
happens.
it
And the board
cost them
says,
$250
yes,
million and a ton of regulation in the end.
bingo,
Right? I mean, that's
bingo.
what it cost them in the end for behaving like that. If they were Spirit Airlines, do you think people would have been so mad at them? Of course not. Spirit Airlines
Nope.
is terrible. Their marketing is terrible. It's like, get to know this person. They're with you for the next 3 hours. Like they are really just weird about that, right? Like, they don't care. They literally don't care. It's their
Yeah.
selling point, right?
They're selling. Yeah,
That brand experience and that brand promise can't be undone by bad customer service, because they sell it as bad customer service, right?
that's
Like,
right.
it can't be it's such a resilient brand. It's almost crazy.
Yeah,
That is not true when you're Southwest, right? The brand
that's right.
experience and the brand promise can't ever overlap like that. Every time you make a mistake, you're breaking someone's heart. Like, that's really no way to live, right? Especially if you're something like an airline. Like an
Yeah, yeah.
airline. They charge
Or
me
a bank.
$35, yeah, or a bank, right? Like, you charged me $35 for a bag that you've never done before. So I just assume that I'm the one paying for the technology debt that you had all these years after you stranded like 4,000 or 10,000 people, right? Like, I'm paying for that now because I'm paying for my baggage, right? And so, like, in a lot of ways, you look at that and you say, Southwest is not as customer friendly as it used to be. They are not as budget friendly as they used to be, and they certainly don't deserve the loyalty they once had, and that's terrible. It's terrible. I have like 200,000 miles on them, something crazy like that. Something crazy. Like, it's been 10 years of me pretty much flying nothing but Southwest, and I won't do it anymore. I had a better time on Delta the other day. Like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. Like, it's great. It's cost the same amount as everything else. There's nothing special about it, and I don't feel like they love me anymore. I think they're trying to get me to pay for the technology debt that they've had for the last 20 years, and I'm not doing
Yeah,
it. So we're done.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a
You broke
valid
my heart.
perspective.
You
You
broke my
broke, yeah.
heart.
But I will say, look, if it's 200,000 miles and 10 years, that's rookie numbers. That's rookie numbers, Renee.
Yeah, well, you know what? I wasn't trying to break a record. As a matter of fact, I spent a lot of time trying not to go.
Yeah.
If I'm being
Yeah.
fair, I tried a lot of time.
I
Okay,
think I
so
think I could do 200,000 a year.
yeah,
Um,
you were going country to country, and none of them were
country to
close.
country.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's not the same thing. I think, that point about, risk and brand risk, I think it's super valid with regulated industries, right? They're
yeah,
regulated for a reason, right? It's people's money, it's people's lives, healthcare, it's people's, life, safety, airlines,
right.
transportation, like these places.
Your financial future is banks, right? Like, yeah, you're
uh,
regulated into a certain kind of way of exist. Well, I also say that it's because you didn't know how to behave in the first place. Like, if you knew how to behave in the
well,
first place, you would have no regs, right? And you don't know how to
yeah,
behave, and you don't self police. And while I think the just going to say it. The American Bar Association and the American Medical Association hardly do it, but still, they are professional organizations required for policing themselves. And if you, technology, if you, social media, would like someone other than the government to actually, make sure you're following rules, then create a rule book and follow it. Don't do what you're
yeah,
doing, right?
yeah.
It seems so crazy to me. Okay, finally, the future. What's next for marketing? Okay, so first of all, we've decided that they haven't done anything different in the last 150 years. Let's see what they're up to in the future. Or is it just going to be more of the last 150 years? Because isn't that what we're figuring out on this podcast? Like, nothing's ever any different. It's just a different technology that gets us to the same place. So, what does the future of marketing look like? Well, we're already seeing things like virtual reality and augmented reality become mainstream, which will only increase the level of immersive experience marketers can offer. Just like the circus once used bigger than life spectacles, marketers today are pushing the boundaries on how we'll interact with products. Imagine being able to step inside a brand's story through VR or having a holographic ad in the street that you can walk through. The possibilities are endless. Marketers are no longer just telling you about a product, they're showing you the world around it and inviting you to live it. Dear Lord.
I'm super bullish and super skeptical about AR and VR. And if I've got to wear something, like, what happens to dongles, right? Dongles get, excised out of the ecosystem eventually. They'll
Yeah.
start, and then they eventually go away. And I saw the reason I think that Meta's glasses will not work, right, is because Mark Zuckerberg sat there explaining how great they were and wasn't wearing them. Like,
Oh, snap. You're right.
I mean, dude, if they're so awesome, and they're such an experience and they do all these things, why weren't you sitting there with them on when you're doing this,
Right? Using it as
this,
a teleprompter.
interview?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, give me a freaking break. And I think, until that dongle, that, wearable, that barrier is worn down a lot more. I'm not so sure. I like AR. I think that's cool. You hold your phone up when you see stuff, but I don't know. It seems novelty. And so I think that the use cases for those are going to be quite specific. I do like the idea of, holographic ads in the street, and that I think that does have a future. But I don't know. I'm sort of skeptical and bullish. It's in a
Yeah.
weird space.
I think you're right when you say that VR has a place in the world and it's not in like everyday advertising, right?
Yeah.
Although Gucci has a store in Roblox where you can go buy
Yeah.
like Gucci stuff in VR, right? So, like, the brands are kind of thinking about it as something they could probably infiltrate because that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to have your brand infiltrate some other world, and that other world happens to be virtual.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of
Yeah.
get that idea, right? But I also think the use cases for VR, especially when it comes to kind of like where would the rubber hit the road? It's in engineering firms. Like, right, you want to build a bridge? Let me show you what it looks like to drive over that
Yeah.
bridge. Let's sit here together. We're
Yeah.
both going to put on our VR goggles and let's do this. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
You're gonna build a new roller coaster. Like you're a roller coaster creating company. Like of course you would use,
Yeah.
virtual
And they
reality.
and they do. And they
Yeah,
do.
right? Of
Yeah.
course you would. It's an experience. You're trying to get them to have the experience before you ever build the roller coaster. It's a brilliant way to use that stuff. But do I think there's room in that to advertise for me? You know what? I would be mad. I would be mad. So I got my VR on. I'm pretending to jump off of a cliff so I can like pretend that I'm, squirrel suit flying because that's the only way I would be good at it. And then all of a sudden I'm flying past a billboard. Like, no, no, no. I don't want anything to do with that.
Okay, so two movies, neither of which are that great, but I think these two movies kind of personify what you're talking about there. That movie Free Guy, did you see that with
No,
Ryan Reynolds?
no.
Okay, it's not a great movie, but it's really, you're the character guy, Ryan Reynolds, is in a video game and he becomes aware, right? He becomes aware of, the environment. It's kind of
Oh,
like I don't know, Grand Theft Auto sort of thing.
okay, okay.
Um, and he becomes aware, and there's pop-ups and and all that sort of stuff, and it's there and it's real. And then the other is Ready Player One. Again, not a great movie, but
But
like
everybody loves talking about Ready Player One.
exactly, the virtual world that the kid is in,
Yeah.
right, has advertising and all of that stuff. So you slap the VR goggles on, and guess what? He absolutely gets hit with targeted ads, right? And I think that this is not so far off I don't think this is so far fetched, right? If you think about some of the capabilities of the goofy glasses that Zuckerberg did not wear, if you think about some of those capabilities that are on there, the one that scares me the most is facial recognition. Facial recognition, like this is really, I mean, we should go into privacy tech at some point, but like this is it, I see it as a big problem because you're wearing the glasses, your glasses are seeing me. I did not consent to be part of your, algorithm,
AI
right?
experience.
Oh
Right.
my gosh, like,
Yeah.
right. And then all of a sudden, if we're not careful about the frameworks that we put in place, Renee's glasses see Marc. Marc's going to get a buzz on his cell phone that says, "Hey, you just walked by a Domino's. Would you like to buy a pizza for, $5 off or whatever?" Like, because it recognizes who I am. And then it has a record, that's hooked to my Facebook account that then texts me. Like, that's the stuff that I'm really scared about. But, that's targeting in a non-consensual way, And I think that's
I would
like,
be I would be more concerned with like I walk past you, I look at you, I have my things on for facial recognition. It tells me you're Mark Masser. It tells me where you're from because it's pulling it all from some profile somewhere, a public
yeah,
profile, right? And I can do that with every single person I look at. Like that's
yes,
bullshit. That's I'm just gonna put it out there. That's not okay. That's just not
that's not
okay.
okay.
And I think that's where when you have a normal FTC or FCC that they should step in with regulation and say, no one gave you consent for that. You can't do it. No one says if you want to do that, then everybody you look at has to give you consent. You think you can pull that off? You can't.
Yeah,
So no, that's not. And on top of everything else, facial recognition technology comes with everything else: false positives, bias, all that other crap. And you using it for anything is not a. I mean, how long before cops are walking around with them, just looking at you, finding out if you have a
bingo.
warrant against you? Like that's not okay. None of that is okay.
Yeah,
None of that is
yeah.
okay.
The observation state is about to become like a billion times worse. I,
Ugh.
we should talk about this, in another episode. It's
Yeah, you know
that
what? We'll
one
get
to
a
me is
privacy
like,
person to sit down with us because there's a ton of people
yeah,
out
we
there that
should.
get just righteously angry about this stuff, and they're good to listen to. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's really tuned me up here. But I think, AR and VR cool. I think there's some, neat stuff there. There are some, issues, but the one that's like I think is right about on the cusp of happening is agentic commerce. And like with e-commerce before, right? You wouldn't have advertising in digital space without the buying and selling of things in the digital space,
Right,
right?
right.
And so if everybody's talking about agents buying and selling things, well, guess what? We're going to have agents that are trading in advertising, right? Bots talking to other bots, bots trying to influence the way that my bot, ranks a certain product or a service and then buys that product or service. I think that's coming.
Do you
If you
want it?
think about,
Are you excited
do I
about
want
that?
it? Ooh.
I hate
Mm.
personally. So
I
for it's like for a month, I walked around my kitchen because I have an Alexa, which was my first mistake. And I only
yeah
use it as a timer. Alexa set a timer for 10 minutes and it's like, give it a name. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you what I'm timing for. I'm just telling you, give me 10 minutes, right? I would walk around and I would say to Sam, from now on, when we talk about the dogs, let's call them eggplant. Right. So,
yeah
okay. So this is that we say that, like we say it in front of Alexa so she can't hear us. And then we start calling the dog eggplant. So we're like, hey, did eggplant eat this morning? So eggplant is the word that we're using in the space of the
yeah
dog. And then Christmas times comes around. So it's like 4 months later. And I see on my Amazon page, Christmas is coming. Get eggplant a sweater. I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. It figured out eggplant was my dog
yeah
just by the
yeah.
context of the conversations, which means it's listening way too much because I didn't ask it anything. I just
Yeah.
talked about my dog. And that's what I unplugged it and stuck it in the
I
gift. Yeah.
I'm so because I'm sort of a privacy rights person and worked on identity stuff and sovereign identity and stuff like that. I don't want to be targeted. I'm not comfortable with targeting. I'd like to think that I know what I want, even though I like. So we're all algorithms, and I've proven with teams mathematically that actually you don't know what you want. You like free will and free choice are not the same thing. And, a lot of times humans don't have choice. They have will maybe, but not choice. And, we're utterly predictable. So the algorithm, there's an algorithm that describes me and we can eventually learn that algorithm. But, that off to the side, I personally, I don't want to be targeted. But if I have a shopping agent, right? And that shopping agent is assigned to get me the best energy prices, month to month, right? Then I think I'm okay with having some level of targeting where some energy companies' bots are trying to influence my bot that buys the energy to do that. I'm okay with that. I think I think I want it to do that, right? Because I want it to learn my habits, my preferences, my persona, right? And if
Hmm.
we think about agentic commerce as less about mm, robot doing a menial task and more like a digital persona, a manifestation of my, jobs, wants, and needs, then that digital persona is likely to have opinions, even if the opinions are mathematical and derived through, an algorithm. But those opinions, I think, should reflect my own personal opinions. And, that could be things like ecological impact of a brand,
Mm.
right? Political views or preferences of a particular brand and that brand trust. And I think that it's okay for the agent to be able to negotiate that. And it's more sophisticated than do you remember the iPhone 4 came out, right? I want the white one. It's more than just I want the white one, but it's I want the one that has the best option that balances price, satisfaction, sustainability. Like that I think is what I'm looking for.
Okay, I don't hate that idea. I don't hate the idea that because the purchasing environment is so big and there's
Yeah.
so many products and I don't know who the originate like who owns it. Like what do they do? Are they bad people? Like I don't know. And maybe an agent that can do that and maybe I get to say, "You know what? This for the next quarter, I only care about punishing people who do bad things. So, hey, agent, go out there and reorganize my shopping cart in Amazon to take out all the people that I think are bad and put in the same thing but from a company that's good. And then
Yep.
let me go buy from that, right? And I think like when you speak about it like that, that's awesome. But then I also think
Yeah.
about just like what have we learned? The second something awesome happens, we weaponize it, right? And so
That's right.
it comes the idea that you're ultimately going to use this against me. That's what you're going to do with it. You're going to use
Yeah.
it against me. It's going to be deceptive practices. We're going to, FTC is going to end up regulating you. Like we're headed that way. I hope we're more responsible than that, but we almost never are.
Yeah. I think this is like we talked about the eternal catalog, right? And this time I think it's not the eternal catalog. I think it's the eternal directory, right? How does my agent find the right match, right? And right now we use Google, right? and other things, but Google's the directory, even though it's not really a directory, right? It's the search engine, and there isn't a directory, right? And I think that, there's going to be a directory of agents, and you're instructing your agent to use the directory to
So
find the thing that you want.
I'm telling my agent to go to the yellow pages and get me what I'm looking for from a vendor I'm okay with. Like, that's it.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
recreating the yellow. Okay, so those of you who don't know, the yellow pages, you got two phone books at your door every year for the phone that was attached to the wall. One was the white pages, which is all the people. So, A. Franklin, you want to dial that guy? You can. Here's his number. It
You
gives you
can
his
dial them up.
address. Like, yeah, just dial him up. Here's his number. You could pay money to stay out of that book, which some people did and some people didn't bother. That was the white pages. The yellow pages was a much smaller book, but it was all the businesses. So you wanted to know
No,
where to find a
bigger.
plumber?
Bigger.
Sometimes it was bigger. Ours was usually smaller. Pittsburgh, it was
In
usually smaller.
California is
It would be
huge.
bigger, yeah. But that's what and it would be by neighborhood. So, LA would have their yellow pages and Corona would have their yellow pages. And then, I guess Stevenson's Ranch would have its own. So everybody had their
Right.
own yellow pages and it was pretty local to what you were. But it's where you went to find, I need a plumber. Okay, well, let's go look here. I need to rent a car. Let's go here. Like it really, like, that's where you went for that stuff. You went and found the yellow pages. And occasionally you use it as a booster seat if you had a kid coming who needed to sit higher in a chair. Like, that's what it did, right? And it was written on super flimsy paper that you could take camping and use it for toilet paper. Like it definitely was directory advertising. And there was an entire advertising like firms around this. I worked at
Yeah.
one, Ketchum Directory Advertising. You literally sold advertising for companies in the yellow pages. So if Midas Muffler Company wanted
Yeah.
to run ads in all the yellow pages around the country, you called an ad agency. They said, here's how much it'll cost. We'll place all those ads for you. We'll do it for a year. We'll renew next year. And then that's what you did. And it was their
Yeah.
job to get that all done for you. Like, you're right. I can't believe we're going back to the yellow pages. We're going back to yellow pages.
See, this is right. You think about what is the problem that we're about to have, right? I have a magical automated AI system that can do things for me, right? Okay, that's not the problem yet. The problem then becomes, well, how does the agent act like me on my behalf, right? How does it go and find the things that I want, whether it's a product or a service or, an experience? And, today, you would rely on sort of brute force web
Mhm,
search, right? And the thing that has the highest mathematical probability, as a token
mhm.
would then be the thing that the AI would say, you know, this seems like the likely thing. But I don't think that's very efficient, number one, just technology wise. And number two, you know, how do we influence, right? How do we shape, right? Because we're going to weaponize agentic commerce.
Mhm.
How does that get weaponized? Well, it gets weaponized when we can control the results of that search, right? I want to find a plumber. But do you think that all the plumbers in the world are going to have, the wherewithal to build a website and to create a digital persona and have a social media, presence and all of these things? Like, no, it doesn't happen. We know that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They'll have
Phone
parts and
number
bits and
on the
pieces of
side
that.
of their truck,
Yeah.
right?
Like
Yeah.
like some of them are very sophisticated and they're more expensive, and then some of them are less sophisticated and they're, cheaper.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. How do I find the reliable, cheaper guy, right? Well, you know what? Maybe it's as simple as advertising in a directory. I think that's
I
like
believe that's where we're headed.
that's the
That's
weaponization
crazy.
here. I
That
think that's the weaponization.
Yeah,
And you
we're going
think
right
about
back to the yellow
that's right.
pages.
How much is Amazon going to pay, right? How much does Amazon pay today for search engine optimization, right? If you're going and searching for something today, and that's big money on SEO.
Mhm.
Well, how do you influence an agent which is not going to use the web in the traditional manner, right? How do you influence an agent to come to Amazon to then buy? And I think that there's something there. I think that there will be that structure. And if it may not be a formalized structure, but it might be, you know, a set of tags that you put on your website, right? That say, I'm open for
Hashtags.
agentic,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hashtags, right? Like,
Well,
come to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know about hashtags. I don't know hashtags, but yes, a set of, systems or APIs that say, you have an agent, I have an agent that supports, Google's AP2, right? It just came
Okay.
out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Here's my set of interactions, your interactions, we can now collaborate and talk. I think that's going to be an interesting sort of transition. How do you know how to find the other agents to talk to? And
And you're right. You
and then what's the
publish
weaponization?
the yellow pages. And that was the thing about the yellow pages. Unless you beat me to death with it, you couldn't really weaponize it, right? There's no way to weaponize the yellow pages, but there is a way to weaponize this stuff. And so that's what always has me worried. Like, I always think like technology is not benign. And if we don't think about the
It's not benign,
downside,
and that's it's not benign. So a couple of things on the size of agentic. Okay, market size on agentic, a multi-$100 billion market by 2030. Gartner, okay, now, yeah, so now always take these with a grain of salt. You're an analyst, you know this. But Gartner is estimating that by 2028, 15% of online transactions will be initiated by AI agents. That's like 15% by 2028. It's only a few years out. I don't believe that
I
number,
don't. I think
but
that's probably twice as much as it should be. But
yeah,
yeah.
but still, like we're talking
But
lots here.
look how fast digital advertising happened in the
Yes,
1990s, right? It's going to be even
yes,
quicker now. So we're not going to have a couple years.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about Gen Z and millennials. Surveys show over 60% of Gen Z and millennials are open to letting AI agents handle at least part of their shopping or price comparison activities.
They're
Trust increases
digital
when the
natives,
agent.
dude. That's why
That's
they're
right.
digital natives.
Yeah,
They were born with an iPhone in their hand. Of course
that's
they
right.
would.
Trust increases when the agent is framed as working for me, not the brand. And I think this is why. I think this, like we talked about influencers, we talked about that stuff. I think this is why there will be this bot to bot, process where bots are trying to influence other bots. And I think that's the hook right there. Like that's the statistic, right? 60% of Gen Z and millennials. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why old people don't want things to change. I'm finally at that age where I'm like, oh, come on, you guys. Let's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's,
And think
yeah,
about we talk a lot about scale and reach and how technology shifts. It doesn't change the behaviors, right? It just shifts how they happen. So
how we do it.
you think about, okay, we started with Barnum. It goes posters in the town square. DoubleClick has cookies across websites. Agentic commerce is going to be bots advertising to bots, and it's going to be negotiating in milliseconds. Like same human instincts, but at machine speed. Like you think about, the interactions, it absolutely will be happening this way, right? It'll happen at machine speed rather
Yeah.
than at human speed.
Well, everyone, I enjoyed the circus. I enjoy the circus of it all. That's what I'll say. Everything's a spectacle. It's just going to be more. So, from the American circus to DoubleClick to today's social media campaigns and tomorrow's agentic commerce, marketing's come a long way. But one thing remains the same. It's all about creating that emotional connection and getting people to engage. So, I hope we did that for you guys. I hope we tugged your heartstrings. And you stayed engaged. So thanks for tuning into today's episodes of the Nostalgic Nerds podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share, and let us know what you think. How do you see the circus influencing today's marketing world? Hit us up on social media and let's chat.
All right. Catch you later, nerds.
Catch you later, nerds.